And all right, let's see. I think we have everyone in. So welcome everyone. Just wanted to welcome you to our fall 2021 CAE Forum series. We're excited to get this restarted again this semester. As you guys know, we host them during the fall and spring semesters. And we have two great speakers today. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Jeff Hale. He is with CISA, and he's the director of the Election Security Initiative within the National Risk Management Center. And he's going to be presenting on the CISA's Resilience Series. So please go ahead and get started, Mr. Hale.
Thank you very much, Lauren. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for letting me speak to you. That's correct. Again, my name is Jeff Hale. I lead the Election Security Initiative here at CISA. Part of the Election Security Initiative includes a branch focused on countering dis, and malinformation. I'll be happy to get to the definitions of those terms in a bit. For the moment, we want to make sure that you kind of understand the concept of what CISA is attempting to do in this space. So with misdis and malinformation, it has the ability to affect the information environment and nudge individuals' decision-making and cognitive decision-making capabilities. Many federal agencies operate in this space, most of them focused on kind of the supply side. So who is intervening with the threat actors when they're foreign threat actors, who is able to degrade their capabilities, take down troll farms, et cetera. We at CISA really focus on the demand side, or how do we improve resilience? How do we reduce the susceptibility of Americans to disinformation? That mission set lends itself to both immediate actions. How do we correct false information? For the Election Security Initiative, we had what we view as a successful initiative in correcting false information in CISA's rumor control around the election. So that's as we saw narratives emerge that could use clarification, we were able to work with election officials and our federal partners and the intelligence community to understand fact from fiction and put out the best information possible in the face of a lot of confusing noise. But immediate actions can only go so far when addressing the challenge of mis and disinformation. This is really an enduring mission, a generational challenge. So how do we build that longer term resilience? A lot of partner nations, particularly across Europe, have far more mature practices in this. So we try to understand where they have found success in building resilience among a population and take some of our lessons learned from there. One of the challenges that we found is you're really telling people that their heartfelt beliefs may have been impacted, may have been influenced by a foreign adversary. This is typically a non-starter when engaging with the public, and they shut down to anything you have to say further. So we were exploring ideas where we could educate and improve awareness on the risks and tactics of mis, dis, and malinformation using non-divisive, non-political material. One of our first successes, or I'll view it as a success, we did a campaign around the war on pineapple. Whether pineapple belongs on pizza is already a divisive issue. We were able to use this, but it's not political, at least not to my knowledge. We were able to use this topic to explore the different tactics of putting accounts in place, falsifying accounts, establishing bot networks, proxy sites, ultimately increasing the divisiveness, moving the content from social media platforms into traditional media and ultimately into the real world in terms of protests, counter protests. and making a divisive issue real. We were very pleased with the uptake on the War on Pineapple campaign. We viewed it as a start, but not complete to educating and connecting with the American public and increasing the education and awareness on this important risk. So we were looking for new opportunities to engage. We thought that teaching by allegory and anecdote would help to explore these various tactics without necessarily triggering an issue that people feel closely tied into. So this is where the idea for CISAs graphic novels, CISAs Resilience series came. This is premised on the idea that disinformation is threatening consequences that affect both national political functions, democratic institutions, and the American way of life. So we are all about freedom of expression. We want that to be received by an intelligent and informed audience that's able to be discerning and aware of the risk of mis and disinformation. So we have so far released 2 graphic novels in our Resilience series. Real Fake was the first, released in October of 2020. Bug Bites, the second, it was released this past March. Real Fake focuses on the way a threat actor advances and builds a network to develop synthetic media or false media, things like deep fakes, inauthentic accounts, and is able to establish this capability and turn it against any topic. Releasing this in October, we used the issue of a network of synthetic media being pushed against a false election that was occurring, a hypothetical election that was occurring. In Bug Bites, we wanted to show that mis and disinformation goes beyond just election security and has consequences on other issues. So we have seen, based on real world events, things like 5G towers having been attacked based on false beliefs, associations, false narratives around 5G causing COVID. So we used a similar topic to explore the consequences of actors motivated by mis and disinformation. Sorry for the slow animations. Normally I'm against animations in PowerPoint, but I thought that the team did such a good job here that I'd keep it as is. Here, both novels tie together with some similar characters. They exist in the same world. Again, Real Fake focuses on consequences associated with the network and how it may affect elections. Bug Bites is about 5G, but both explore different ways where, in the first case, Real Fake has these heroic protagonists that take on something that we don't expect an individual to be able to do. In Bug Bites, the individual, Ava Williams, the protagonist in this character, just starts to combat false information by calling it out, by researching, by being a discerning user. In this, she's able to discern misinformation, the false information spread without malicious intent, from disinformation, the content that is intentionally spread to deceive, and malinformation. Malinformation can be real information that is pushed out for harmful contexts. So throughout all of this, our protagonists either travel the world exploring a network of development of synthetic capabilities, or confront influential characters spreading mis and disinformation directly. But throughout all of this, we're able to use exposition to explore the tactics that are at play, and teach both familiarity, kind of an inoculation theory of handling mis and disinformation risk. these are some of the, we were very pleased to engage some experts in both developing this series. We actually contracted with Clint Watts, a former FBI agent, an expert on misinformation efforts, and he was drawing from known experiences on the tactics and network building in order to inform this. He partnered with a team of talented graphic artists to produce this. We were thrilled with the initial response. We have also been able to produce subsequent trailers and advocate for the use of this material for a younger audience than CISA normally targets. We think that mis and disinformation is often considered something spread through chain emails among the elderly or on social media among the young. But really, this affects different populations differently, and we wanted to make sure that CISA's usual alerts and warnings systems have a vehicle to reach perhaps an audience that doesn't normally engage with the cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency. This is kind of a second step in working to promote media literacy from CISA's perspective. Media literacy can be a loaded term for many, both through its ambiguity and the way it is proffered up as an easy solution to a very complex risk. But I'm using it in this sense as a way of promoting these 5 steps in addressing mis and disinformation. A lot of this behavior is around recognizing the risk. Only through an awareness that this exists, that this type of persuasion knowledge is different than other vectors of persuasion. We're not dealing with advertising campaigns. You implicitly give it the benefit of authenticity in a way that you may not otherwise when you know you're being advertised to. And then there's steps to both question the source, investigate the issue, understand whether there's only proxy sites or whether there's only derived material, whether content is being pushed from a social media platform to an inauthentic site, how you have responsibility in what you link to and what you push. Are you paying the quote unquote liar's dividend in advancing a narrative that is known and false, in trying to refute it? And then ultimately in helping other Americans and helping your public to reduce the engagement and reduce the spread of mis and disinformation. With that, that's the content I prepared in slide deck. I would love to take questions from this.
All right, it looks like we do have some questions in the chat. So the first question, let me scroll up. The first question is, how do we access the graphic novels and can we share them with others through social media?
Fantastic. I would love that. We do have our graphic novels on CISA.com/resilience series. Either I will drop that in the chat when I have a moment, or someone will be able to push that link. We've also CISA.gov, and thankfully our new director, Jen Easterly, has tweeted about this on a couple of occasions, including new trailers for this information. So we'd be very pleased for you all to share this as well. Sorry for the audio going out. Hopefully you were able to catch most of my presentation.
And everyone, if you have any questions, feel free to post your questions in the chat.
I was anticipating a few more questions, but
yeah, so the next question, Jeff, is which one is the most challenging from the MDA component?
So the term MDM, again, the first two, the misinformation and disinformation, tend to revolve around what the actor's intent is, and you don't know that. That is often unknown. That's why there's benefit in grouping the two terms together. Malinformation, but it also presumes your ability to determine information as false. That's not always easy. Oftentimes, we're dealing in a gray area where we, particularly as the federal government, just have the responsibility to be as transparent with the information and analysis that we have now, and not be the quote unquote ministry of truth. How do we be as transparent and useful to combating mis and disinformation and malinformation with the limited understanding that we may have on any given topic at the moment, understanding that we'll get more over time. So it's kind of a commitment to that transparency.
All right.
Here, I'll read some of them if you don't mind.
Sure.
Is CISA working with other partners to remove misinformation from sources like Facebook, LinkedIn, etc.? So while we do have partnerships with social media firms, we are not responsible for reducing the supply side. I do know that that other federal partners do that. We've focused more on the demand. I think there's benefit in separating these two sides of the mission of combating mis and disinformation because the technical, diplomatic, and political means of affecting like foreign threat actors are vastly different than the capabilities needed to build resilience among the American populace. Did the pizza experiment demonstrate an ability to counter malinformation? If so, by how much? So this does not directly relate to your question, but it does highlight a growing need. Metrics in this space are very difficult and seem to have a longer horizon for determining effectiveness. And so we have invested in learning more. There's a lot of predictive marketing tools. There's a lot of assessment of believability or virality that may be useful, but the ability to determine whether our tooling and guidance has reduced engagement with, has reduced the susceptibility of individuals when they engage with mis and disinformation is still a metric that we don't have a clear measure for. On the similar topic of pineapple on pizza, we released an earned media campaign. Really, this was to bring attention to the issue in the summer of 2019. And the goal for us was to dispel, I'll say, in many ways, we were recognizing that MDM actors, that in this case, like Russian troll farms, were often believed to be wizards' ability with an ability to create a division where one didn't exist before. So we started with this with a recognition that oftentimes these influence campaigns are most effective when they take an existing divisive issue. We were lucky enough to stumble on the issue of pineapple on pizza. We also found most of these non-politicized issues tend to revolve around food, at least with my team. So there was a lot of arguments on salt and vinegar chips or something like that. And we were able to this was a very foundational issue of discussing some of the tactics that troll farm actors employ. What we saw was that this earned media campaign, and you can look it up on Twitter, hashtag war on pineapple, had fairly high engagement for a short spell, including Russia Today tweeted about it or wrote an article about it, mocking it. Sputnik wrote an article about it, so it got some attention of some Russian actors. We had politicians engage and end up unintentionally spreading the campaign. We had election officials really seize upon the campaign and take one side or the other, and it really, as much as we wanted to promote this as lighthearted, there were some strong opinions that were taken and pushed across this. So it had a little bit of a meta experience. What kind of testing have you done to validate that people are getting something out of these graphic novels? We are continuing to engage on that, on the again, measuring the success of or the effectiveness of graphic novels as a communications tool. Again, that's a longer term horizon for us to give a reflection on that. We're still in the promotion stage of getting these out and getting these into the hands of others. It is based on the existing inoculation theory. And so tools like, we also partnered with the State Department's Global Engagement Center on an online video game called Breaking Harmony Square. And that has more testing than we've done against our graphic novels. But again, this is an emerging field that we are making a few earnest attempts in, and will redirect strategically as our measures indicate afterwards. Is there a side of this where the goal is to remove MDM? And with what kind of authority is that being done with? Or is this more about informing people that there is misdis and malinformation? It's a great question. My team is not focused on removing misdis and malinformation. I think that's a game of whack-a-mole that you can never fully win. There will always be false information in an information environment. There's nothing wrong with some false information in an information environment. When that information creates such cognitive dissonance as to compel incidents of violence or other actions of consequence against national critical functions or items of national security consequence, that's where we're concerned. So we're not looking to remove mis and disinformation or us personally affect the actors creating mis and disinformation, as much as we are trying to make it harder for them to be effective by building a resilient population. All right, I would be happy. Did I miss any questions? Happy to take any more. And certainly from this community, I would welcome any type of guidance or advice. We are always looking to make these products better, and we are looking to improve our strategic approach to connecting with populations at every age, and really using any means necessary to improve risk awareness and risk education as a form of risk mitigation in the information environment. Is there a write-up of the war on pineapple? There were a few articles on it. We have not done a public-facing after action in this space on that, the war on pineapple. I love that idea. The idea to co-develop with university students and use the rich academic environment to both generate content that would be more effective than me in my bureaucratic seat trying to reach the public, but also it's going to be that generation that advances the field and understands how to measure this better than anyone else. So we're absolutely looking for opportunities to partner. Fantastic, thank you.